Thank you very much. It's a real pleasure to be back in Brazil. The last time I came, it was about a year ago, and I visited a number of accelerators. I traveled around the country. I was in Recife in the north. I went to Sao Paulo, came here to Rio, and I spent some time with a number of accelerators and startups then. And I've noticed a massive change in just the last year in terms of the number of businesses that have started up and the quality and the passion of the entrepreneurs that I've been meeting. The time before that, I was lucky enough to be in Brazil, was in 2007. I was looking back in my diary, and I realized that Brazil has come an awful long way in a very, very short period of time. The whole mood of the country, and in fact the whole desire of the country and the people within it, and particularly the young people here in Brazil, has changed dramatically. The opportunities that you have open to you to become what you desire and what you want to be have changed dramatically in a very short period of time. In the UK, that's happened over a long period of time. And what I want to talk to you a little bit about is about my journey as a global entrepreneur and how that might translate to some of the things that you desire and some of the things that you want to achieve. We don't have favelas in the UK, but if we did, I was born on what was probably the closest to a favela. It was, we call them council estates. The place I was born was one of the poorest places, and it was very tough. I grew up and I left school at 16, and I became a salesperson. And I became very good at selling stuff. And I turned that into something that has become stuck with me all my life, the ability to talk to people from all types of backgrounds. I think one of the things that makes the opportunities that you have so strong is the ability that I've seen today, which is your ability to communicate. I listened to Richard Branson, and he talks a little bit about what's great about Britain, but I'm struck by the coincidences, or maybe the similarities, I should say, between what's true about Britain and the United Kingdom and what's true about Brazil. You also have an amazing sense of humor. I found that out over the last few days. You have a tremendous heritage, an amazing history. You have a terrific background in innovation. I remember when I came here in 2007, somebody very proudly told me that actually the airplane was invented right here in Brazil. Is that right? Yeah, I thought so. It wasn't nothing to do with the Wright brothers. It was first founded here in Brazil. You have a tremendous opportunity to travel. It's amazing now, perhaps more now than has ever been possible before. And you know, that ability of you to go global is really one of the things that's going to make the difference between where you are now and where you as a people and as a country and as individual entrepreneurs can be in the coming time. So let's talk about what it means to be a global entrepreneur. And what it means to have a global business. Richard talked about something earlier on about doing something that you love. He said, if you want to start a business, make sure you do it in something that you love. I've now started 4 different businesses. I'm going to tell you a little bit about those and a little bit about the journey of those. And then what I'm going to do after a few minutes is open that out for questions and see if you can ask me some of the things that you're working on. I know I've met a whole bunch of you today, and I also know that I'm standing in between you and the results of your pitching competition. So I'll try not to keep it too long, but hopefully we'll be able to share some of our experiences. The first business I started was a credit card fraud company. Now, credit card fraud was never something that I particularly loved. I like credit cards, that's cool. I like spending money. I think we all like that, right? But it wasn't something that I particularly loved. We raised a whole lot of money for that business. And back in the time when I was starting that business, in 1999, 2000, it was a lot easier to raise money. We raised $42 million. We also had to give away quite a lot of the business. That business became very successful. I was very lucky to travel to the United States and grow the business there. And I spent some time in the Middle East, and I spent some time in New Zealand. And what I found was that actually doing business in all of those different places was very much the same as it was in the UK. The thing that made the difference was your ability to connect with people and have them trust you. If you can do that, you can achieve anything. And one of the things I'm going to throw out to you today, and one of the things I want to talk to you about and perhaps have you come back to me today, is what is it that you really want to be? What do you want to achieve? The very fact that you're here in this room, and actually we were listening earlier on to Beto Graves about his exciting motivational challenges that he was putting out. One of the facts that, one of the things that you have, and the very fact that you're here in the room today, actually means you can, each one of you, achieve absolutely anything you desire. I'm not going to say that you're going to play center forward for Brazil. I'm not going to say that you can, play guitar with U2 or anything like that, but pretty much within your sense of opportunity, you guys can achieve anything you want. And all you have to do is decide what that is. When I first started building that first business, we never knew that we would become as big as it was. It now employs 180 people around the world, and it's used by 70% of the world's banks to detect fraud on credit cards. But we knew that we were going to be successful, and we knew that we wanted to make ourselves wealthy. And that was the thing that drove us. And we would do absolutely anything to make that happen. Now, as it happened, interestingly, because we'd raised so much money, and because we had to give so much of the business away, when we exited that business, we didn't become as wealthy as perhaps we should have done. So the next business I founded, about 3 years after that, we didn't raise any money at all. We bootstrapped the whole business. 3 of us started in a tiny little office. It was the first company that ever put a barcode inside a text message. And when I say that, it sounds really dull and really boring, but because everybody does that right now. But at the time, it was the first time anybody had ever seen a barcode appearing on a telephone. It was unbelievable. You could use that as a voucher or a coupon, and many of you I've seen are using those kinds of technologies now. And that, because we sold it to our first customer, and then we sold it to another customer straight away, meant that we could actually drive the business forward through making revenues. Many people have asked us today, and I've heard a lot of conversations going on in the room today about how can I raise money? And I've raised some money from this accelerator. And Startup Brazil has given me 200,000 reais. And all of those kinds of things. And the focus seems to be on raising money. And you know what? When somebody says to me, how can I best raise money? The answer I give them is be successful. Go and sell your product. Go and find somebody to buy your product. And when you do that, not only do you get money, but you get investors coming to you and say, how can I give you some of my money? Because that's what they're really interested in. They want to see that you have the ability, and I don't know how you say this in Brazil. We have a word for it in the UK, but you have does cojones work? You have the chutzpah, some people might say. You have the ability to go out and convince people to actually believe in you and buy your product and write a check and pay you for your actual product or your expertise or your idea. Not to give you some money so that you can go away and build it, but to actually get somebody to buy into the concept. When you do that, then investors will come. I'm going to tell you a story about a company that we work with in the Global Entrepreneur Program. A young guy, and he is very, very clever. He's from Moscow, He was degree educated. He managed to get to university in Moscow when he was 16, I think. And he now has a PhD. He's 21. He has a PhD in advanced robotics. So he is definitely a very clever young man. I met him about 2 years ago when he was 19. He had managed to get himself from Moscow to London, which is not the easiest thing to do, by the way, when you're a Russian. And he came to London. I met him at an event. He said, I heard about this event. I just came along. I was running something called the Young Entrepreneurs Festival. I thought I'd come along and see what was going on here. And he'd hustled his way all the way from Russia to London, and he happened to bump into me. And I got to like him. He told me a little bit about his product. It was a tiny little technology that he'd invented to help pizza restaurants, so that when you were ordering your pizza, you could ask when it was going to be delivered, or could I have some toppings on it, or this kind of thing. And it would understand your question and send you the right answer. I introduced him to BMW. BMW, the big German motor car manufacturer, were just about to launch an electric vehicle. You've probably seen it. I don't know, do you have the BMW i3 range here in Brazil? I don't think it's got here yet. So it's the first ever electric vehicle that BMW have ever launched. They came to me and they said, Andrew, we've got a problem and we want to pay somebody to fix the problem. And the problem is we're launching this electric vehicle and we've never launched an electric vehicle before. We're BMW. We make fast cars. We make sporty cars. People who buy BMWs don't even know how an electric vehicle will fit into their lives. Where do I plug it in? You know, what happens if I switch the heater on? Will it slow down? All of those kinds of things. And you know what? We don't have call centers or banks of people to answer those questions. Is there any technology that could help us do this? So I introduced them to Dimitri. He talked about his artificial intelligence technology that could potentially answer the questions that people have. 8 weeks later, the BMW iGenius technology was launched at the global launch of the i3 BMW car. That piece of technology is now being used by BMW all around the world, where it uses the i3 car and it sells the i3 car. And you can, you can ask it any question you like about the BMW i3, and it'll answer you now. And now Dimitri's company that started selling stuff to pizza restaurants is working with a global car manufacturer all around Europe and in the United States. And that was because that guy hustled himself to London to meet the right person that could take him to the place that he wanted to go. And he didn't raise any money. Well, he raised money 3 days after the product was launched, because a newspaper report talked about this new product. And he had 5 offers of investment 3 days after that newspaper article was released. He actually didn't take any of that investment because the product that he'd sold could allowed him now to develop that product. And he sold that product to 4 different large brands, including banks. So what I'm going to say to you here is, yes, money is important, and finance is important, and investment is important. But far more important than that is finding a customer base for your product and making sure that you have the ability not just to develop, not just to code a piece of technology, but to get out there and start talking about your technology. I know you've all been doing it here today, and I've seen some fantastic presentations. And in a minute, those of you that have presented on our stand, I'm going to tell you who's won the tour of the UK. But before I do that, I'm going to throw the option over to you to ask me what kind of questions you have about what it takes to be a global entrepreneur. It's a really scary thing. I'm going to say 2 more things. It's a really scary thing to get on a plane and go to a place that you've never been to before, and then get out and you don't know anybody. You don't know You don't have the network that you have here in your country. You don't know which bars to go to. You don't know where to find people that might talk in the same way as you do. But let me tell you, all around the world, in cities like Rio and cities like Sao Paulo, there are conventions like this. There are events like this where there are people just like you. And I've stood in front, and I think Neil Silverman said it yesterday. I've stood all around the world, in Australia, in the Middle East, in Singapore, in the United States, in France, in Vilnius, in Warsaw, and I've spoken to faces that look just like yours, and they are all on the same journey. I'm going to say one last thing. It's really bad when you're doing a presentation to tell a joke, okay? Because sometimes it doesn't work. This one's going to be doubly bad, because I'm going to tell a joke in English to a group of people that their first language is Portuguese. So I apologize, but I hope this joke will work. There were two people, and they were fishing in a river. And they were standing in the river, and they wore those big waders. Do you know what I mean? They're wearing the big fishing waders, like this, big boots. They're standing fishing, and they hear a rustling sound, and a big bear comes out of the woods and starts running after them through the river to get to them. So they run out of the river in their big waders, and the first guy starts running away, still wearing his boots. The other guy starts taking off his boots, his waders, and starts putting on his trainers, his sneakers. And the guy that's running away in the boots says, "What are you doing? You can't run away from that bear. You won't be able to outrun the bear." And the guy says, "I don't have to outrun the bear. I only have to outrun you." So all those faces all over the world that I look at, just like yours, you know what? They all want the same thing. And all you have to do is run a little bit faster than they do. You don't have to be the best. You have to be good. And you have to be great at being you. And you have to run a little bit faster than the other guy. And then you'll be able to win. Okay, so I'm going to throw the questions out to you. We're going to talk a little bit about, in a minute, we're going to announce the winners of our little competition, and then you're going to hear the results of your big competition that have been judged by the esteemed judges here. You know what I think you know the sorts of things that they've been looking for, and I think you know that what we've been looking for is the businesses that have been most able to globalize. But maybe you have some questions for me about exactly what makes that difference, or how you can perhaps be best you can be. Does anybody have any questions about what it takes to be a global entrepreneur? And I hear that you're all very shy here in Brazil. Is that right? There's a question over there I can see. I don't know if we have a microphone that might come to you.
Hi, my name is Carol. I'm an entrepreneur, and we hear a lot that failures are many times good for entrepreneurs. So looking at the globalization of a company and so on, I would like to ask you of one down moment that maybe you had that taught you something very important to globalize.
Okay, so the question is, what is the down moment? Being an entrepreneur, being any kind of business person is a very lonely thing. Everybody talks about how great it is and how much money you're going to make and, how wonderful life is going to be. But the bulk of the time, it's not like that at all. Most don't go into being an entrepreneur if you're not prepared to work really hard, have no money, and have no friends, and your relationship will really suffer. So I don't want to paint a bad picture, but it's bad, okay? It's really bad. I think the time that I remember, the worst time I remember, was just before we raised the large amount of money. we knew that we were running out of money. And we employed at that time, I think, 15 people. And we knew that we didn't have enough money to pay all those people if the money that we were raising didn't come into the bank and the time that we hoped it would. I myself hadn't been paid, and the directors hadn't paid ourselves for probably 3 or 4 months. And I was running a very big American Express account, which was really funding the business. And so the concern that we had, not only for our own wealth or our own, ability to survive, but also that we might let down the people that had trusted us and not be able to pay them their salaries that they were depending on, that their children were depending on, was probably the darkest moment. I'm happy to say that on October the 31st of 2000, the $42 million actually came into the bank, and we were able to make the salary run. But the 3 or 4 weeks before that, I remember being the darkest time, because there was a moment when we felt that it might not happen. And at all of those times, it may not happen. I think there are many entrepreneurs that have been through that moment, and it's really dark when you feel that you might have to let people down. And I suppose the other time, or the other times, I would say, are when we've had to let people go. When they either haven't fitted in, or they haven't worked out, or the business hasn't been performing as well as perhaps we hoped it might, and we've had to let people go from the business. Those are always difficult times. I think on the positive side, you have to turn that around and say we've been able to create some great jobs for people and give people lives that they otherwise might have struggled. But certainly, when other people are depending on you and your team to create their jobs and to pay their salaries and to look after their homes, then that is a tremendous and awesome responsibility, and not one to be taken lightly. Any other questions?
Hi. Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, I would like to know, we hear a lot in the speeches that we should focus on the entrepreneurs and not in the business. And I would like to know if you ever invested, and by investing I mean your time, not only money, on entrepreneur with the wrong business but the right attitude.
Absolutely. I think every single investor would always prefer an A team with a B idea, because it's actually the people that are going to make the difference. You can have the best idea, best technology in the world, and if those people aren't prepared to, or don't have the ability or to execute, I think it was Michael Dell that said, ideas are cheap, execution is really important. If you have the ability to execute, then you'll get investment. And I would say 95 or perhaps even 100% of investors that I've ever met will always say, give me the team, give me the entrepreneur, and I'll invest. If they don't make it this time, they'll make it next time. And if they don't make it with this idea, this guy's going to do something. So there's no question in my mind, having the right attitude and having the right team around you, and having the ability and giving yourself the ability to really execute. It comes back to those things I was saying earlier on. If you need to be able to hustle and get out there and make people believe in you, and then you'll get investment. That's what'll do it. And that's what'll make you successful as well. Never mind just getting investment. It's actually what'll make you successful. Okay, so we've come to the time when we're going to announce our little competition. We said yesterday, and we only had this idea really about a week ago, that we're coming to Rio, we're coming to this amazing place, and we're going to see some incredible entrepreneurs and some great ideas. Wouldn't it be great to give some of them the opportunity to come to the UK and see what the UK might offer for their business, and how they could perhaps make that the first step to being a global, international entrepreneur and create an international business? So we decided that we would put together a little competition, and we'd devise a prize for the winner of that competition. And the idea would be, if we could see a business and an entrepreneur that really had the ability to scale and would make it relevant, make a relevant business in the UK, and from there go global, then we would put together a program where we would show them around the UK, introduce them to people that could help them, potentially introduce them to their customer base, and give them some mentoring, and also give them a place to work in the UK for a month. And that's what we've done. As I said, you have to get yourself there, but we're figuring out that you're clever enough to be able to do that. We've seen 14 presentations. I know some of you sat with us and sat through them as well, and they were incredible. I'm so humbled to come all the way here on an 11-hour flight, and you are speaking English to me and presenting your technology and presenting your business plans in English. And I'm so sad that I can't listen to you in Portuguese, because everywhere I travel, I feel that that's a terrible, I feel guilty about that. So I do apologize. But do you know what? You guys were amazing, and presenting that in that way, in that challenging environment, was really fantastic. So well done to everyone. Please give everyone who presented a big round of applause. We were just going to select one winner, but in the end we decided that everybody was so great that we had to give a third, second, and first place. The third place winner of our contest was a young business in the education sector. In the UK and Europe, the education sector is enormous, and it's really growing, and technology that works in that education sector is very, very important. And so in third place, our third place winner is Outclass. Well done, guys. Thanks very much. Why don't you stand here just for a second? You're welcome. Thank you. You're welcome. Well done. In second place, we picked a young guy who gave an amazing pitch, an amazing presentation, certainly the best pitch that we saw in our section. Obviously, as you can tell, I'm a fashion icon, and I'm very interested in fashion. And in the UK, the fashion industry, the creative industry, after all, punk rock was invented in London. The Beatles came from London. London is one of the centers of fashion. And in second place, our second place winner was Du Jour. Well done, guys. Well done. Well done. Congratulations. So the winner and the person that, or the group that will come to the UK and get shown around the UK and meet some amazing people and go on a visit of all the clusters, Tech City in London, Manchester, Creative Media City, Liverpool. We're going to take them to the West Country as well. This guy, we met him briefly yesterday, and then he did an incredible pitch today. We were very excited about the technology. It fits in a particular sector that we think is really, really important, and particularly very, very important for Brazil, but also incredibly important for Europe and for the rest of the world. And our first place winner is Loatbox. So, if the guys from Loatbox will come up here, I'd like to say well done, and I want to say thank you to my fellow judges for helping me decide, because it was so damn difficult. But you know what we've decided? Well done, Eduardo. Fantastic, well done. You know what we decided? We decided they were so great that all three teams would be absolutely welcome to come to the UK. If you can, or you have to get yourselves there, okay? But if you all come, we will show you around all of the UK. You can stay, and we'll take you on a special tour, 4 weeks. You get 4 weeks office space. You guys all get 2 weeks office space, and you can come and stay with us. And we're delighted to welcome you to the UK and show you all around the UK. And hopefully, we can take you on your first step to being international global entrepreneurs. Well done, guys. Give them a round of applause. Thank you very much for your time, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Well done. We look forward to seeing you all in the UK. Well done. Well done, guys. Well done.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well done.